Watching News at Prime, let's continue with our coverage around Johannesburg's water crisis. The mayor, Dada Morero, promising disgruntled residents of Westbury and Coronationville that supply will be restored within 1 week. He's also calling on residents to use water sparingly as levels are very, very low. Well, let's speak now to University of South Africa's Department of Political Sciences, Professor Richard Meissner, who talks to us from Hartbeespoort Sport this evening. Professor, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. Let's start with the handling of this whole crisis, water crisis in and around Johannesburg. What's your sense?
Yes, thank you very much, Coley, and good evening to the viewers. You know what, I listened to the news briefing this afternoon that when the mayor was at the community, and he said something that really surprised me, that there will be water tankers in the vicinity or in the neighborhoods. And I checked that, and there were actually water tankers, but the residents complained that, you know, they didn't bring sufficient water. Now he's going to deploy another 15 water tankers. A couple of weeks ago, we've already started experiencing warmer weather. I mean, spring came early this year, and it's a biological fact that as your temperatures increases, people consume more water. So it's a recurring thing, and one of the residents at the briefing said it happened last year, and it happened the year before, and the year before. And this is an annual event. I mean, we as commentators, I become quite busy with the media every time this year when there are water disruptions during spring and summer. And really, I am at this point in time, I'm quite surprised that it comes over as if they weren't prepared for this, although it happens every year. And I think now that the pot has boiled over with the protests and violent protests because people are frustrated. But I mean, it's a recurring event, annual recurring event, and it seems as if the City of Joburg weren't prepared for this, although they should have been.
This is why, therefore, Professor, when you use the word surprised, I'm going to use it in this particular context because the mayor says within 7 days there will be running water in the taps. In the area of Coronationville, which is nearby, and that's where we understand him to be right now, that area has apparently been dealing with this for over 10 years. Now, suddenly, within 7 days, there will be running water. Is that a realistic promise, or are they asking for more chaos from these communities?
Yeah, I don't think it's realistic. I think he's trying to catch fish from a toilet to promise a sustainable supply of water. I listened to some of those residents. They said that they've been without water for months. And this just shows how water insecurity can disrupt lives. I mean, the people are very unhappy about it in that area. There's always problems with the commando system around about this time of the year. But, you know, I think what the mayor did was he made a promise that he won't be able to keep. And I mean, we've heard these promises before. One of the former mayors about 2 years ago said, during a similar situation, said they will supply JoJo tanks to every household in Johannesburg. And my colleague Anya Du Plessis and I, we did a cost calculation, and we calculated it will roughly cost the city about 8.4 billion rand just to give a 500-liter JoJo tank to every household. So, you know, these are political pronouncements that the mayor is making, and he won't be able to keep, you know, unless he deploys a lot of water tankers. But I think that the residents don't want water from a water tanker because they don't feel that it's a dignified way to supply them with water. And they were very unhappy when the mayor said during the briefing that he has always delivered on every commitment he has made. They booed him. So that just tells you, you know, that there are low levels of trust, and with low levels of political trust, You also get a connection, or there's a link with political authority. And I don't think that in that area at least, and in other areas of Johannesburg, the city of Joburg or the municipality doesn't come over as a trustful entity and an entity that has a lot of authority to address the problems.
You use the phrase, there is a low level of trust between the community and the leadership. If the water is not restored within the 7-day mark, is it a reasonable demand from the community that the mayor steps down?
Yeah, you see, they would want him to. Yes, I think so. It's reasonable, but political reality will dictate whether he will step down. I don't think he will step down. We are about a year away from elections. We have the G20 summit coming up, and they're putting a lot of focus on the G20 summit that will be held in November. And it's no coincidence that it will be held in Sandton and not in Westbury or Coronationville, because Sandton's infrastructure is so much better than the suburbs we're talking about. So yes, they would want him to step down, but you know what? The political reality dictates that he won't, because they will wait for the local government elections next year, and that will be an interesting dynamic to watch during the local government elections next year. Already in last year's election, the national elections, water was a prominent feature in many of the political parties' manifestos. The first time, I would say, that I've seen that on the political scene. And it would be very interesting to see how water shortages and people's dissatisfaction with particularly pertaining to water services, and not services across the board, but water services, how that will affect what the influence will be on election outcomes in not only the city, but also in particular wards like those covering Westbury and Coronationville.
Yeah, and I like that you are swaying the conversation that direction, because you started off by saying that it would appear the mayor of Johannesburg is making political statements that he may not necessarily be able to fulfill. Let's broaden it. The president is exactly in your neck of the woods tomorrow. You are in the Northwest Province, and the municipalities in that province are in a dire state. Is it likely to also be doing same that you are suggesting Mayor Morero is doing here, which is to placate communities with political statements as opposed to providing real solutions, because people are frustrated on the ground? No, people are frustrated, and I must let me answer your question by saying this: the African National Congress and the local governments and provincial governments that they lead, it's not a party that is used to communicating very effectively with the people. Their communication is much desired for. You know, we've seen this over the past 30 years. You know, promises being made and not delivered on. Because it's one thing to make a promise; it's another thing to deliver on it. And this is where political will comes in. If you make a promise like the mayor did, or maybe the president is also going to do the same tomorrow, or whenever he makes these promises, you must be able to have a determined commitment to deliver on those promises and to implement policies and programs that better people's lives. And that's political will. Political will boils down to a determined commitment to resolve issues and problems. So promises do not communicate political will. It's that determined, committed action that really speaks to the people and that communicates that there is a political will. And I don't think
come back to the mayor. I don't think that what he said today visualizes a determined political will to resolve the issue within those neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's it remains to be seen what is going to be the next course of action. Hopefully, the 7-day deadline Dada Morero is going to meet, and we'll hear what the president will say to residents of the Northwest Province as he moves around the municipalities there, understanding that tonight, though, he is having a session with ANC deployees in governments. For the time being, Professor Richard Meissner, thank you very much for your time. He is with the Department of Political Science at the University of South Africa.